Hi, welcome to Golden Years. I'm Lori Betts. This month, my special guest is Angela Coleman, and she is from Care Patrol. So she is going to share with us what her company's all about. So come on back.
My Shiro doesn't always wear a cape, but she always has time for a hug, a smile, for going the extra mile. My Shiro stretches every dollar, puts in long hours, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. When you're ready to retire, we want you to be able to enjoy it. It's time to start saving now. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Hi, Angela. Thanks for joining me this month on Golden Years.
Hi, Lori. Thanks for having me.
It's always good to have a friend on the show. So we could share all the county, what you're all about, and what you have to offer to the seniors. So share with me how you got involved in Care Patrol. And I know you could share with the viewers that it is a husband and wife team.
So my husband, Anthony Coleman, he bought the franchise. Care Patrol is a franchise. He bought the franchise and territory almost 5 years ago. I was a high school science teacher. I ended up teaching for 17 years. As I saw what he was doing, we run a lot of our business from our home. Um, when I listened to the conversations he was having with families and the help and the education, everything he was providing, I just found myself so drawn to it. Um, like I said, I was a high school science teacher for 17 years. I had no senior healthcare experience. I had grandparents that I loved and um, was a part of but really, when I saw what he was doing, I decided I had education had run its course, and I wanted to join him. And he built the business up to the point where I could quit teaching. And for 2 years now, we have been together. So he's been doing this for almost 5 years, and I've been with him for about 2 years.
And you're liking it.
I love it. I mean, no joke. I absolutely love it. People ask me all the time, do you miss teaching? And I say, no way. This is just so fulfilling. And I've met so many wonderful people in senior healthcare, seniors themselves, older adults. I mean, I just love everything we do, everyone we work with.
And you went from younger adults to older adults.
Yes, yes. And I mean, I guess in essence, I'm still educating people. That's the basis. A lot of what we do is education and sharing all the information that we've accumulated that's out there that people might not know, because most people have never had to go through this until you have to go through it.
So walk my viewers through it. The daughter calls you and says, I need some help. Mom isn't ready to pick up and find a facility to move into. We want to tour them and we want to rate them. And can you share with me, can you give me like a list, pros and cons? What am I looking for? Because I have no idea where to put mom and I need help.
Yeah, so and that's one of the best parts about our service is we do all of that for you, and like you just said, we walk you through it. But instead of you calling or the child or anybody calling, 10 different facilities, communities in Medina, Brunswick, whatever city, whatever your location is, um, we have a conversation. So daughter, son, husband, wife calls, and we have a conversation like you and I are doing. Tell me about your loved one first. Tell me who they are as a person, what they enjoy, what they did. And then we can get to what are their needs now, what is their budget. That can be uncomfortable, but it doesn't have to be, and it's a key part of finding the perfect place. And then we talk about location. Is location important? And Anthony and I have done all the work as far as rating, making sure that all the communities, we go on the Ohio website and check any care violation, check the whole care violation history. But really, that's, one day that the state comes in. Really, it's that we've placed and helped so many families, and we stay in touch with them even after they've moved in, for at least a year. We stay in touch with them periodically to ensure everything is still going well, you're still enjoying it, it's still the perfect fit. So we get that feedback as well. So that really helps too, for us to say, here, here are the top 2 or 3 recommendations, and here's why. Like you said, here are the pros and cons. Anthony and I set up the tours, the date, the time, obviously whatever works for the family, but we call all those people, do all that legwork, and then and we accompany our families on the tour. So
Oh,
yeah, and a lot of times, like, I'm actually working with one um lovely lady that I am, it's the senior herself. She doesn't, her husband passed away, she has no kids. So I'm going to go to her house and pick her up and take her to
uh,
these. So it is very, very hands-on, and I don't know, I feel like it's like friends, family, that's the relationship we create.
do you limit the seniors to like visiting like X amount of places? Because does it get overwhelming after a while if they keep going and going?
Yeah, and that's what I know. Sometimes families get nervous when I say I'm going to give you 2 or 3 recommendations, because I get, oh, well, there's 10 here. I want to see all 10, and that's, like you said, I we limit it for reasons. One, so it's not overwhelming. Two, because again, a lot of those might not fit your care needs, your budget. There's different reasons, and we always explain why we try to limit it to 2 or 3. But if the family is adamant, then again, we do what you want, and if you want to see 10, we'll make 10 happen. But it's definitely recommended 2 or 3, because you lose track of what the first place after the third, fourth place.
And when you're touring, do you typically go around mealtime? Do they offer meals or taste the food or?
No, that's a good question. So pre-COVID,
Oh, yeah.
that yeah, it's crazy how much it's changed a lot of our business. I mean, everything. Pre-COVID, yes, we would a lot of times try to make the tours around mealtime, because it's very important to a lot of people. Is what's the food like? So these communities are very good about offering a meal before or after
Mhm.
the tour, and you could actually sample it out. Now, we haven't gotten back to being able to do that yet. We're glad we're back to touring in person, but we have not been able to have meals with the communities just yet. Again,
And a lot of these places are fortunate enough to have some type of experienced chef on staff. Like
yeah.
they came out of the restaurants and they wanted to take their expertise and bring it into the assisted living.
Oh yeah, and that's what, that's a big thing that, because we work to try to keep our families as independent as possible. So our number one goal when we're looking at facilities is to try to go the assisted living route. And that is one of the big pros of assisted living is, like you said, they have chefs there cooking these 5-star meals. My
Fabulous,
father-in-law,
yeah.
he raves about it. We actually recently placed him in a community, and that's his favorite thing. He just raves about how delicious the meals are, and the chef, she's his best friend.
Oh, that's good though. I mean, they're in their home,
Mhm.
So, I mean, and they want to be treated well and they want to be fed well.
Yes.
So during COVID, you only had to do all virtual, correct?
Yeah, and that was the biggest challenge for us as well as our families. Like I said, we're so used to being hands on and meeting the family and being in person with them. So that was very challenging to get used to. It's doing, like this. Everything is Zoom, virtual, and sometimes the families didn't get as good of a feel for what that community was really like um, through a virtual tour. But that's what we did, and now we're back to in person touring though.
Yeah, because I know pre-COVID, they would, if someone were, calling the facility and say, I'd like to come and take a tour, and if they had functions going on, like they always do, they
Hmm.
would say, well, why don't you come in around this time so you could see what activities go on? Or we just so happen to be having some type of small fundraiser, bring the family in. And that would be a good perk too, because they want to see how active mom or dad's going to be, if they
Yeah.
choose to be.
Well, yes, and that's again, sometimes I think senior living communities get a bad rap. That that's why a lot of seniors don't want to move. But from what I've seen the last 2 years, it's nothing like when I was growing up. My mom was actually a nurse in a nursing home for a few years, and that's, I feel like, the perception everyone gets is, it's a medical type place, and mom or dad are just going to be laying in a bed. But
Mm.
like you said, there's so many activities, there's so many ways that they try to get everybody involved and really make it an enjoyable experience, not this one that everybody dreads. It's I don't know. I always say I can't wait to be 55 so I can move into one of these places, have them do
And
my
be fed.
laundry, my housekeeping, feed me.
Really, really. Now, do you also take them to independent living, not assisted living, but independent living?
Yeah, yes, definitely. If we see that that's what the family wants and that's what's appropriate for the senior, then we can definitely show them independent living as well as memory care. So we tour all of those: independent living, memory care, assisted living, um, and whatever they want. And not that I'm going to say yes or no, but with my expertise, I'll say yes, you're right. Independent living would work.
So, does it family ever put you in a situation to say, okay, I know mom needs to move. She, it's getting too hard on her to be home alone in the home. So, do they open up the conversation with you starting into the conversation?
That's happened. Yeah, because sometimes it's crazy. And this is what ends up happening is, so us as parents, you know, we talk to our kids don't listen to us. They don't behave for us as well as they do other people. So
Correct.
the roles become reversed when you're the child trying to tell your parent,
Hmm.
mom, dad, you're not safe anymore. This is what I think. And again, that parent is like, you're my child, don't tell me what to do. So when you have a professional like Anthony or I come in, sometimes we can we're saying pretty much the same thing, but because it's coming from us instead of their own family member, the message might be received a little bit better. So yes, we've definitely tried to talk to the seniors, and I mean, a lot of times we're successful, but I'm not going to guarantee that we can work any miracles.
Yeah, but it happens. It happens. I always tell the story that I went into one lady's house, and when I was going through her kitchen, she had a bunch of throw rugs, and she was on a walker. And I said, "What's the purpose of these rugs?" And she said, "I have to keep my floor clean." And I said, "You need to stay upright." I said, "These rugs got to go."
Hmm.
And I'm just a stranger, coming in to do my job. And the daughter called me and she said, "Thank you so much." She said, "We have been hounding her for years to get rid of those rugs." She said, "As soon as you were in your car," she said, "get rid of the rugs." So yeah, and like you said, we do the role reversal, because we become the parents.
Mm,
And it's just so nice to have that extra person out there to help through that decision. Because it's not an easy decision to make.
right, right. And this
You
that
know, everyone
support.
does say, right, yeah. And a lot of people, like I had a lady in the store yesterday, and I said, "So what do you think of your new home?" And she said, "Well, it's not really going to be my home." She said, "But I adjusted." So I said, "Well, that's a good thing." I said, "That's a good attitude to have." And I said, "And don't you enjoy the meals and the activities?" So I guess you just have to get to the point that, you know, you're there, you have to accept it. Even
Yeah.
though a lot of people hated COVID because they're like, I was in jail and they would knock on the door, they would slide the food in, and they'd be off. She said it was horrible. It was a horrible time in our lives.
Hmm.
I said, well, now it's opening up. And so now maybe you can have a couple people together out on the patio or something. I don't know what the rules are because they're not letting them people in yet. Or are they opening the doors or?
Well, and that's another thing, that we've seen working with all the different communities. Each one is kind of interpreting the rules and everything different. Some are still
Mhm.
being very cautious and, not letting people in. Others are um, they're still being safe, but they're not as nervous anymore, and they are having activities and outside vendors starting to come in. So each community right now is kind of just like even during COVID, each one had a little bit different way that they helped their residents and they provided all the services still. So it's different everywhere, but I am definitely seeing, even visitation. Pretty much everyone's allowing visitation. Some allow, half hour, twice a week. Some are allowing a little bit more open. And that's another thing that we go over all of our families with is, you don't have to call and try to figure this out. We know this information and we can share with you everyone's visitation policies and activities and, kind of what they're doing.
Which is a plus because especially if it's a daughter or son working,
Yep.
they don't have all this time to be calling. So, what are some of your worst challenges that you face in a family scenario?
Every family is unique, but one of the families that sticks out or stories is a family where you have many, many children. So I think this family had 6 different kids. So you think everyone's on the same page. It turns out 3 or 4 are on the same page, 2 are not. And then the parents are just kind of like, you kids tell us what to do. And at first they wanted to move their parents, and then they moved into one place. Then the kids were like, this isn't what we want. They're not doing what we think we can do. So then the kids all took turns, 6 different kids each week. Um, the parents like moved to the kids' houses, um, and as much as we tried to keep in touch with them, they kind of left us for a minute. They wouldn't return our calls, and then a nursing home when dad ended up, it was like a small fall, it wasn't too bad, but ended up in a nursing home, and the family was like, oh, what should we do? The nursing home said you should call care patrol. So the nursing home brought them back to us, and then we finally the they realized that maybe their expectations were a little bit not too high, but unrealistic. And then we found a different facility that was actually perfect for them and very accommodating for what 6 siblings needed, because almost every sibling wanted something different. So a lot of times, if there's multiple kids, that's very difficult. And then sometimes what we find a lot is the if it is again kids and mom and dad, nobody's POA. So mom and dad might start having early dementia, and so their decision making may be a little bit compromised, but nobody's POA. So that's another challenge that big piece of advice I can say to any kids, talk to your parents about becoming power of attorney. It doesn't like take away any rights that the parents have. The parents are still ultimate, they have the say, but then this gives the kids the power to sign documents and do things like that. Um, but that's another big challenge is when nobody is power of attorney.
That has to be challenging.
Yeah. And then I
So
think
Angela, go ahead.
well, I was gonna say, and then the other challenging one is like right now, like this poor lady that doesn't have anyone, but I just dedicate all my time to being like her surrogate daughter, doing everything for her. But that's probably the other one. Too many kids or no kids. Those are the two challenges.
And then she's probably going to turn to you and say, "Well, what do you think, Angela, I should do?"
Yeah.
And then you don't want to make the wrong decision, but you just have to make the best decision.
Yeah. And I always say, well, if you were my mom, this is what
Yeah,
I
oh,
would.
very good. Yeah, yeah. And I know it is a very, very challenging decision to make. And when you said about budgets, are there more and more facilities happening now, like going back to the assisted livings? Are more and more places taking Medicaid?
Honestly, I feel like most facilities, like whatever they decide on, they've kind of stuck to. So some are just private pay only. Some have taken Medicaid or Medicaid waiver with assisted living after a period of time where you spend your private funds anywhere between,
Mhm.
I would say, 1.5 to 3 years. Um, I've recently heard of maybe two newer or two facilities in Medina County that have recently applied for Medicaid waiver. Um, so it's not. It doesn't seem like it's a trend that okay everybody's going to. Just one or
Mhm.
two places that I've seen that have applied to be able to accept Medicaid waiver, but for the most part, it's it, you know, each community has its own model. So some are like, nope, we're private pay. It doesn't matter. That's not our, that's our clientele and that's our policy. And that's, like I said, that's a plus of having us, Anthony and I, we know which facilities have accept Medicaid waiver. So, um, so if that's important to a family, then you don't have to worry about calling everyone and figuring it out. We'll let you know right away.
Very good. And I always do want to say, I always bring up Senior Service Network. I mean, because we're all in a room. Well, we used to be in a room before COVID, sharing everybody's companies, and we're all competing, but yet we're really there for the senior. We're there to help the senior, everybody's mom and dad, grandparents, and get them settled. And we collaborate with each other. So it's just a nice, warm, and fuzzy feeling when you're in Medina County because you know there is a lot going out there for the seniors and a lot of educations out there to help them.
Yeah. And that's another, I guess, like bonus of when people work with us is like you said, we're part of that senior services network. So when a family decides, okay, we need to move mom out of the house. Well, we personally know people to help with that transition. We personally know people to help sell the house, like all the little nuances that go into that transition. We can not only recommend facilities, but then people that are going to take care of your mom and all of her belongings and everything. Again, like you would want her to be treated like she's family. So that's a great point that we all help each other and work together to be resources for the seniors.
So, Angela, I have one more question. I want you to share with my viewers um, before you meet with them. Do you suggest questions that you might present them in your little meeting? Because what advice would you give them to see what their goals are before they start heading out and looking?
So I mean that is one of the big things, like you said, Lori. Like, what are your guys' goals? What is important to you, the actual person, the senior that is making the transition, and then what is important and what are the goals for the kids, if kids are involved, for the spouse, if the spouse is involved. But knowing that ultimate end goal, to me, is one of the most important questions. A lot of times that's when I talk to someone, sometimes I lead with that before I even get to know the senior, the person. Is okay, let's all get on the same page. What is the goal? Is the goal to stay at home with home care? Is the goal to, eventually go to assisted living? Like, what is the most important thing to you? And what is the most important thing to you also in a facility, if that's your goal? Is food the number one important thing? Is a home-like environment? Is a one-story building? There's so many tiny differences, and maybe sometimes they don't know what's important to them, and we can talk through that. But again, like going back to some advice when you're starting this process, definitely POA, figure out power of attorney, get that in order. And then, like, I know people worry about, oh, we got to sell the house, we got to clean up the house, like all that we don't need to worry about. That can be taken care of. Once we figure out if this transition is the best thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have been very informative today, Angela. So I'm glad you joined me, and you really fit your job. So yes, you spoke from your heart, and you're there to help people and get them settled. So I wish you a lot of luck.
Oh, thank you so much. I do. I appreciate you letting me come on and share. And I do. It's been the best 2 years, the best transition. So I love it. And I can't wait to help more and more families.
Well, thanks for joining us this month on my show, Golden Years. And have a safe month, healthy, and we'll see you next month.
Type bat.vibit.com into your browser to start watching the latest Brunswick area television shows on demand. Not finding what you're looking for? You can search the folders of show names over to the left, or type in the search of the name of the show or any keywords into the search engine. Then, click the show you'd like to see, watch it, scan through it, or download it to your computer to watch later or burn to DVD. That's bat.vibit.com.